Guys, I have finally cracked it. I have figured out a fail-proof way to make perfect macarons every single time. There are 5 steps to making the perfect macaron, and I'm going to walk you through each of them in this video. Begin by adding 170 grams of almond flour and 227 grams of confectioner's sugar in the bowl of a food processor. Blend that, give it a few pulses, and then sift it into a bowl and set it aside for later. Now it's time to whip the eggs. Measure out 150 grams of room temperature egg whites. The pastry chef who taught me this recipe recommended using old eggs. She even said that some chefs separate their eggs in advance and leave them at room temperature to age for 1 week. I haven't gone that extreme, but these eggs are not the freshest, and that's a good thing when it comes to macarons. Here comes the first step to making perfect macarons every time, and that is keep it clean. Clean the bowl of the stand mixer and the whisk attachment with some vinegar and let it air dry. Even the smallest amount of contamination will sabotage your meringue, and the vinegar stops that from happening. On a medium speed, beat the eggs until they reach soft peaks. Then slowly but consistently stream in 127 grams of granulated sugar. Now here comes the second step. Get the beak. Beat your eggs on medium until you reach stiff peaks that resemble a bird's beak. Then we can move on to the macaronage, which is folding the almonds into the meringue. The folding technique can take some getting used to, so give yourself a leg up by working in the biggest bowl that you have. Sprinkle half the almonds over the egg whites, then scrape the spatula along the bottom of the bowl and lift it up so the mixture kind of falls back onto itself. Rotate the bowl and repeat. For a while, it's going to look like nothing is happening, and that's how it should be. You don't want to overwork the mixture or you'll never get the perfect macaron. When you're ready, add the rest of the almonds and your choice of gel coloring. I want a uniform color to my macaron, so I'm adding a bit of golden yellow. If you want a tie-dye effect, add the color a little later on. Keep folding, don't rush it, until, here comes the third step, you make the 8. Keep folding until you can draw a perfect, unbroken figure 8. Unless you're jacked, your shoulder should ache a bit at this stage too. Once you have the 8, it's time to move on. Using a round tip nozzle, pipe the macarons onto parchment paper or a silpat. Then slam the baking tray onto the counter to remove any bubbles. You can also go in with a cake tester or a toothpick to pop bubbles and smooth the surface. At this point, you can also decorate your macarons. I'm making a lemon macaron and an Earl Grey tea macaron, so I'm decorating with non-pareils and some loose leaf tea. Before baking, these will rest for 30 to 60 minutes to form a dry surface, which is a great time to mention my 4th tip. Bake them dry. Humidity will stop macarons from forming a shell on top. The only way I found to consistently bake perfect macarons is to set up a dehumidifier. In the smallest room in my house, I plug in the dehumidifier and let my macarons rest. 30 to 60 minutes later, they have formed a perfectly dry surface. Bake your macarons 1 sheet tray at a time in a 325-degree oven for 12 minutes. You can tell when they're done by remembering my last tip. Kick the wiggle. If the tops wiggle when your timer goes off, they're not done. Leave them in for another 1 to 2 minutes before letting them rest on a rack to cool completely. And there you have it, 5 steps to bake the perfect macaron every time. If you enjoyed this video or want to see more like it, please let me know by giving this video a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button.